Hi, my name's Cathy Wesolek, and I will be your son or daughter's written communication professor. That's the writing class that they take as freshmen. I have been married for about 33 years. My husband's name is Jeff Stevie. We have two sons. Our oldest, TJ, graduated from Purdue in 2016, and our youngest, Will, graduated from Bethel in 2018. We have lived in a lot of different places since we've been married. I was actually born near Bethel in a small town called Wakarusa, but my husband and I spent several years in Champaign-Urbana, where he got his doctorate and I got my master's degree. We have also spent 2 years at the beginning of our marriage living in the Philippines. We worked in a United Nations refugee camp there. After my husband got his doctorate, we spent 5 years in New Mexico, living in Albuquerque, and moved back to Indiana about 15 years ago. When our youngest son graduated from Bethel, my husband used to be a full-time professor in the education department here at Bethel, but once our youngest graduated, he decided to become a full-time pastor. So for the last couple of years, he's been a full-time pastor at Trinity United Methodist Church in Plymouth. And about a year ago, I was asked to fill the pulpit at a small church outside of Plymouth. And so I have been a part-time pastor for about a year now. I normally teach basically one class in the fall, and it's the block class, and I see it as a bit of a mission. I don't just, I love writing, but I see teaching and helping freshmen adjust to college as kind of a calling and part of my mission as an educator. The way the block works is Dave Schmidt, who teaches Exploring the Christian Faith, and I work together, and there will be some overlap between our classes. We try to connect things as much as we can. I'm teaching a different course than I taught last year. I'm really excited about that. My philosophy you can see here with your students, write without fear, edit without mercy. I'm not that interested in them all loving writing, but I am very interested in increasing their confidence that they can do college writing and that they can apply the things they learn in my class to other classes, not just this year, but down the line. If your student is struggling with my class, calls you, texts you, or whatever during the year, I would ask you to ask them a few questions, because at the beginning of the semester, I'll be telling them what they need to do to succeed in written communication too. And basically, if they do those three things, there is a very small likelihood they won't pass. Just the way the course is set up and the way I teach. The things that they need to be aware of and things that you can ask them if they call home is, are you going to class? Are you turning in the work? Are you asking questions when you don't understand? I try my best not to be scary and try to be approachable so that I really do want to help them if they don't understand. And then finally, are you staying off your phone during class? I've used these first three questions for years, and in just the last couple of years, I've had to add this last one. Bethel has a pretty stringent policy against phones in class, and to be honest, if I enforced that policy, it would take up a good chunk of my class time and distract from my teaching. And so my philosophy has always been, I'm pretty strong at the beginning. If I see them on their phone, I will not, usually later in the semester, ask them to get off of it, but I will note down that they're using it and they'll lose participation points because they're simply not engaged with the class if they're on their phones. I believe that eventually, if they're going to succeed in college, they have to learn to police themselves on this rather than allowing the teacher to kind of dictate what they do. So I am not someone that's going to stop the class and say, wait, so-and-so is on their phone. I don't like calling people out to begin with, but I really do believe for their own success, they're going to have to learn to stay off their phone. All right. I mentioned that my son graduated from Bethel, so several years ago I was sitting where you are sitting, admittedly in not quite as scary of a time. One thing we always ask when we meet with the parents normally is how many have, is it your first child that's going to college, or is it your fifth or sixth? And there's often a very different attitude or feeling between these two different groups of people. First child, a little bit of anxiety. If it's your last child, sometimes you're really ready to get home to the empty nest. This year is a little different though, and I have a feeling no matter whether it's your first or your last child that you're sending, with the COVID pandemic going on, things are just going to be a little different and a little more anxious. So I just want you to know that part of the reason we're here for Block is to be the professors that they get to know well, and to try to spend some time, not even just in class, but outside of class with them. It's going to be challenging this year, but we're going to do our best. I am a mom, so I'm going to, throughout the semester, remind your student to get plenty of sleep. Don't be up all night playing video games. Eat well, wash their hands, just do what they need to do to stay healthy. On the other hand, I'm their professor, not their mom, so I'm not going to be calling them in the morning to make sure they're in class. Again, if they're going to succeed in college, eventually they're going to have to learn to get up and get to class on their own. I'm really excited about having your students in class. I've been praying for them. I've been praying for you. And I just would encourage you to pray for your students, kind of let them take the lead on how much to communicate. And really, prayer is the key. I'll continue to pray. We'll pray during class. And we would invite you, really ask you to pray for us during this semester.